Every club. Every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.
Hello and welcome back to the Daily Southampton, and today the Daily Wolves podcast from the Global Sports Podcast Network. My name is Greg, and today I'm as always joined by my good friend Zach. How you doing, Zach?
Yeah, all good, mate. I've not been completely ruined by looking forward to football yet. the hope cycle hasn't
You
kicked
mean
in.
that
I'm
the
too busy.
optimism is building? It's fine. And today
Sure.
we are joined from the Daily Wolves by Chris. How you doing, bud?
Hey, I'm good, thanks. Living the dream.
Yeah. So earlier in the season, we might have looked at this fixture coming up on Saturday and hoped it would be a 6-pointer, but for us, that seems to have long gone, and the hope of any result being anything more important than getting us past Derby's record seems to have gone. Chris, how important for you guys is a win on Saturday?
It's really important for us. I mean, we are gradually creeping away from the bottom three now. We got the draw against Everton last week, which was, I think, given their recent resurgence in form, was a good, solid point. So, I mean, if we can get the victory against you guys, and then the rest of the bottom three were to lose again, that would put us 9 points clear. So, I think this is this little run that we're in now. So Everton, you guys, we've got Ipswich coming up. Like, we're playing all the ones around us. So yeah, this is vitally important for us.
Kind of stranded in the strange position in the table where you're sort of almost cut adrift from the bottom three and almost cut adrift from anything above you. It's a bit of a strange one, right? And so I suppose it's a bit of an indictment of how the league as a whole has gone this year, that it's sort of stranded. And do you think there's anywhere else other than 17th that do you think you can push on and catch up with sort of West Ham and Everton?
I mean, a few weeks back, yeah, I would have said yeah, but you said it's a bit of a weird one. Everton are only one place above us, and yet it's about 10 points now since Moyes came in, or something like that, off the top of my head. So I think it would be a hard push to make up that gap. I think we can definitely get closer to it. I feel like under Vitor Pereira, even if the results have looked inconsistent from afar, as a Wolves fan, you can see that performances throughout his reign have improved, even when we've been losing. And some of the teams we lost to, the likes of Forest and Newcastle, Liverpool, which we actually dominated Liverpool for the second half, and we were unfortunate not to get anything from it because they didn't get a shot on goal for us in the entire second half. So, we've been solid as a unit. We've improved with the January signings of Agbadou in defence, really shored us up a lot. We've been, because the first half of the season we were conceding from set pieces like crazy, and now that's kind of all gone away. We're scoring less, but we look more structured. And so, despite the fact that we won't have Cunha for this game because he's on his ban, I think if anything, some ways we've been discussing the possibilities of that being a silver lining, because this team needs to plan for life without Cunha. This team needs to be looking, because he's going in the summer. It's not official, but we all know it. That they need to be showing they can do it. Everton, they scored, they got the draw. If we can continue that form and show that they've got life in them as a unit without Cunha, I think actually, although teams around us are probably thinking, yeah, we're going to face them without Cunha, that's a good thing. I think actually it could be a blessing for us. They need to step it up as a team.
Yeah, it's definitely something I've looked at the fixture and thought might be a sort of a key point. Obviously, in the reverse fixture, he scored both the goals against us. So, do you think he's still got that edge to get those goals and take the game, or do you think that maybe we're almost a banana skin that's potential to slip over?
I mean, given the way our season has gone, there's always the potential for banana skin because, prior to the season starting, we would not have expected to be in this relegation fight, for most of the season. But I would like to think every game in the Premier League is a banana skin. I don't care what people say, every game. But I think with the people we've got, getting into form, and I say the new signings and the way that Vitor's pushed the team, I'd be devastated and shocked if we didn't get something from this game. Hopefully the win. It should be the 3 points. No offense, but that's what we're going into it thinking. This has got to be,
Yeah, That's fair. I feel like I've asked that banana skin question every crossover episode so far this season, and one time it's got to come true. I don't actually think it's happened at any point yet this season, but that's just another indictment of our season as opposed to anything else. Um, where are the threats coming from? What's the danger we have to look out for coming from you guys?
Well, obviously, like I mentioned, because we won't have Cunha, so the talisman, the danger man that everyone is expecting is not going to be there. So with him out the way, although he hasn't scored since he came back from injury, Strand Larsen, obviously the main striker from last summer, he's on 7 goals prior to his injury, and then he was out for a while, and he's had a couple of games back now. He's getting back into form, so potentially, I mean, we're looking to him obviously to get back into goal scoring form. But to be honest, the most interesting dangers, I would say, it depends whether you're talking as a if we discount goals for a second, the people that have been stepping up like recently in terms of performances within the team, Andre in midfield, I mean, he dominated that game against Everton. You know, he's the anchor, the linchpin defensively that just holds it all together. I think he won 12 turnovers in that game and was like 5 ahead of the next person. He like won so many one-on-ones, it was ridiculous because he's the linchpin that protects that back line. So if he's having a good game, he can just shut people down. And then Bellegarde for us has stepped up last few games under Vitor. Under Gary O'Neill, he was a no man, like he was just out on the bench or out on the wing. And then Vitor came in and went, actually, you're a central midfielder. Let's put you where you should play. And suddenly he's like, creating assists and scoring goals and just looking rampant. And it's like, where did this guy come from? And it's the epitome of a new signing that is not a new signing kind of thing. So yeah, that's probably where the two I would say interesting names to look at.
Yeah, playing players in their right position is a lesson that a lot of modern managers really need to learn. Not least our manager.
Yeah, I feel like we had this conversation, an element of that conversation last time we met.
Yeah, a different manager and same nonsense. It feels like we're making steps in the right direction after the last game, but yeah, I don't know. Zach, does hearing an out of form striker trying to get back into form fill you with confidence, or does that sound like the rest of our season?
Sounds like the rest of our season. Probably score a hat trick. That's kind of how it goes against us at the moment, isn't it? How many out of form strikers and players have we given an opportunity to this season? I can think of just a couple off the top of my head. Rashford at United managed to get a goal against us. He's not even at United anymore. Well, for the foreseeable. Oh, we've just had. It's been a.
Sancho.
That was the name I was trying to forget. Right, like that was how we both realised he was at Chelsea. Like we just entirely forgot he disappeared off the planet. So yeah. One of the few questions I did want to ask. I had a couple of conversations with some Wolves fans on Twitter after the departure of Mario Lemina. Because I found that to be, I thought he'd really grown up when he'd gone to you guys and then proved to kind of be otherwise. And I think it's really disappointing for somebody to be a club captain and then just go, a new manager now, can't be bothered. And I imagine, I don't know, what are your feelings on that whole situation?
Yeah, it was an interesting one. It's a shame because he tarnished what was becoming, even just a year or two, a really good, legacy at Wolves. And to be honest, I think Vitor, if anything, was a little bit confused and hard done by because the fallout was from Gary O'Neill's reign, and he just never recovered from it because he'd lost the captaincy under O'Neill through the fight after, I think it was the Ipswich game on the pitch, or a tussle after. He had a couple of tussles, one after Newcastle, one after Ipswich, and so like he got stripped of the captaincy, and then he kind of refused to play, and then Gary O'Neill went, and then Vitor came in, and he was already not training with the team and like saying I want to go, and Vitor obviously was like, well, I've asked you again if you want to stay, and he's like, nope, I want to go. So he's like, I don't want to play someone that doesn't want to be. Oh, that was it, because they went to play. I think we went to play someone, and Vitor said, because he's fit again, are you ready to play? And he went, no, I'm not coming. I'm not coming on the coach. I'm not going to play. So, but it was literally from the aftermath of Gary O'Neill's reign. And I feel like Vitor just walked in and was like, what is going on?
Trying to deal with this. It's disappointing. I was able to, I can't remember who it was that I was chatting to on Twitter, but it was able to point out the montage that he created when he kind of got done with us. And I think he was really gunning for a move to Man United. So put out this whole montage. And it was just, I think from like a Saints fan perspective, we could always see the talent that was there. And it was really nice to see him sort of settle down in a team that, like from a personal perspective, I've always had a little bit of an affinity to Wolves. and then to sort of see him throw that away all for the sake of a bit of a disruptive season. It's upsetting to see, but hopefully like stronger, brighter things for you guys. At least, probably not the position that you're in now, but in the future, I'm sure.
Yeah, I feel like because Vitor Pereira that's come in seems a lot more strict, shall I say, disciplinarian than O'Neill, who was much more like I think arm around your shoulder kind of guy, wanted to be their mate, and that kind of worked for Lamina to an extent until it didn't work. And then, so when Vitor's come in and this guy's like, well, I'm not in the mood, I don't want to play. He's like, all right, then off you go, because I don't want people in that are going to disrupt my dressing room. And that was it. Out the door, mate. You're gone. And with most people, Vitor says, you get one mistake is fine. You make the same mistake twice, then I don't want to know. So it's a simple. He's actually said that in an interview, pretty much. So it's like, yeah, I'm not having any mess in my dressing room. They're good. You want to be here, you want to be here. If not, get out the door.
I think it sounds like the sort of no nonsense that we need, to be honest.
Yeah, I was going to say, do you see? I know that we're running a little bit for our first outbreak, Greg, but do you see any contrasts with our team? Because I certainly do.
Yeah. The main difference being that it seems to be working at Wolves.
Well, they also had a new manager bounce.
Yeah.
Ours was a draw.
We had a 0-0 draw with Fulham. What more do you want?
That was under the assistant manager, Greg, not the actual. It was under our caretaker. It wasn't even under our new manager.
Our new manager bounce was a 1-0 loss to West Ham. So. Right, well, that leads us very nicely into our first break and a message from our partners.
Your body is unique, and Global Sports Podcast Network has partnered with Bionique, the world's most personalised supplements. Bionique provide 100% tailor-made supplements designed to deliver precisely what your body needs at exactly the right levels to optimise your health. No guessing. So click the link in the show notes. Use the code GSPN2025 for 40% off your first month's subscription. Bionique. Don't settle for off-the-shelf solutions made for just anybody. Get what's right for you right now. Your body.
Okay, and we are back. Zach, you said earlier that you're not quite in the cycle of optimism that we've established on this show regularly. How are you feeling about the game? What do you think is a good outcome?
Is it bad that like my optimistic outcome that's perfect is just going to draw at this point? Because I genuinely think that would be something that's building on that Liverpool performance. Because once again, I don't think that the scoreline was necessarily reflective of how well we played. It's probably the best first half of football I've seen us play all season, just completely thrown away with a second half performance that was nothing. So it's so hard to judge at the moment, and especially where we don't know if Juric is just going to reverse and try and play players completely out of position again. Obviously, we've got some fit centre backs again, so maybe it can be a little bit better. But I also, for me, it's very much one of those situations where we play fantastic against the top teams, right? We always seem to put a performance in against City and Arsenal, any team that's around us. Not that I would have ever really put Wolves around us at the beginning of the season, but any teams that are sort of around us, we just seem to let our guard down a little bit. And then it becomes like a 4-5-0. And it's getting harrowing the amount of times that we've had 4 goals scored against us. And again, with us maybe assuming because they don't have their danger man, it's going to be a bit of a safer game. That's where I worry. And I don't know if they're going to have the reaction for something that they haven't been able to expect. So maybe we'll get there. Like maybe I'll feel a little bit better, but I think like the maximum we can hope for at the moment, realistically, is a draw. And I know that's probably not what you want to hear from me.
It's fair. I think the cycle seems to be this season that we'll pull out a performance like the first 45 minutes against Liverpool, where you're like, oh look, we're a team that can compete in the league. If only we could play like this for 90 minutes against any other team at any point. And then we end up going and getting beaten 3-1. So it's definitely on the cards. We speak a lot about form and about how like home grounds can be fortresses. With our home form, is it just the opposite effect? Like, do you think it's possible to enjoy playing at St Mary's at the moment?
Not not for a while. Like, we have become such a self-deprecating fan base. Like, mate, that's about 50% of what our podcast is, mainly because it's the only way we can deal with it. But I think that I've tried to say this before without criticizing the fans necessarily, because I don't think that if you're paying that much money to go week in, week out to see what you see, and to be able to pay extra money to drink at the new fancy bar or whatever, you're kind of entitled to be annoyed. But from like a playing perspective, it has to be harrowing to have everyone not have any confidence in you. Admittedly, like, you need to have performances to build that confidence. But it is one of those things that I think that if we go 1-0 down away, you will still hear lots and lots of singing. They'll still be completely cheering up. I think if you're 1-0 down at home at the moment, we all know what the outcome is going to be. And that's got to be a more hostile atmosphere to play in. So when it comes to sort of, but to be honest, Greg, like, what, I don't even know if we have form. We haven't had a good enough string of results together back to back to claim we have any level of form this season.
That's exactly what I mean. Our form is that 45-minute performance.
It's 15 minutes here and there where we can get happy, but again, it's those are the 15 minutes we need to look back on this season and celebrate, similar to the last time we were relegated.
Chris, have you seen much of Saints this season? Is there anything from us that worries might hurt you? No is a perfectly valid answer. It's fine.
Is he your main striker? Is it Delap? Is he out injured or is he suspended at the moment? Or am I imagining that? Oh no, I'm thinking of someone else, aren't I? Because
it's Ipswich.
Yeah.
Delap almost came to us. That would have been a wonderful transfer, but we could not get that one over the line.
Wrong pod.
No, we don't have a striker. That's what's playing
us.
Is that
the problem? Is that the problem?
That is one of the problems.
One of the problems. To be honest, yeah, I don't. I've been so, we're so focused on battening down the hatches ourselves right now and trying to just like get through this and maintain Premiership survival, that you do get a little bit kind of tunnel vision sometimes, and you just don't necessarily look too far outside. So there may be things I'm not expecting, but I'm not. I think the main thing I'm scared of is say, whilst I said it's a silver lining that they need to kind of step up, and they have a little bit against Everton as a team, I am worried that they've got too reliant on Cunha. I know that's turning it back in a little bit, but just that we have become very much a one-man show. If you look at most of our goals this season, I think it's over 40% have come from him. Pretty much all of them in our victories or draws. Most of the other people, like Larson that we mentioned, scored 7 goals. Not a single one of them has gained us. I think one of them gained a point, the draw against Tottenham. The rest of them are all in defeats. So it shows you, and you mentioned Cunha scored 2 of them against you. We are very much that one-man band. So whilst I'm hoping they continue to step it up as a team, I'm a little bit frightened of the fact that they're going to go away and be like, what do we do now?
Oh yeah, I get that. I understand that tunnel vision as well. It's much harder to motivate yourself to watch Match of the Day when you watch what we have to put up with.
Totally, and you're always on last as well, or somewhere like that, because we got the 1-1 draw with Everton. It's like, we're going to be on last.
Yeah, very much so. I don't know. I was trying to.
Unless the only reason you're on, one of us is on near the start, is if, like you say, you get trounced 4 or 5-0, and then they put it on just so that the other team, they can talk about Liverpool for 10 minutes or whatever it is. And you're like, great, thanks, guys.
Yeah, no, that's a very familiar tale.
That's my one hope of optimism. My one point of optimism, Greg, by the way, is that the reason that I think we could draw out a draw is if Wolves struggle to score against us, I don't know if we will score this time round. Like, our goal against Liverpool was the softest goal I've ever seen, right? It was 100% small bone, capitalising on a mistake that probably shouldn't have happened from both Alisson or Van Dijk. And that is not something we're usually that good at and have been that good at this season. So, if we could just grind out not scoring and also not conceding, that's why, as I said, for us, it's probably an optimistic outcome. And I know that it shouldn't be that harrowing, but honestly, Greg, it's hard to see.
I don't know if being optimistic for a 0-0 is going to motivate my drive down to the
I have told you before, Greg, if we get 4 or 5 games under our belt that are 0-0 draws and we get over the points tally, we're over the points tally of not being the worst Premier League team of all time, whereas everybody else wants it to be fancy and a win by 3 goals. I remember that the amount of times that you've been like, yeah, I think we're going to win by 3 or anything where they score more than 2. And I'm like, we have struggled to score more than 2 in a game nearly every single game this season. The idea that we're going to score 3 to win is wild, and I struggle to see where we're scoring goals from at the moment. I really am, because we still we're still not firing properly. Like once we even get anything into attack, it kind of just peters out, right?
Yeah. No, you're right. I think I think if you add up I know we don't give a lot of credit to XG as a stat, but I think if you add up our last 4 games, it almost equals 1.
That's what I mean. And it's again like there will be a episode at some point, maybe, or on an interview of our technical director, and talking about sort of some of the problems we've got where. Yeah, when it comes to sort of the players at the moment, how many don't really want to be here? How many know they're off in the summer? How many know that they just need to get to the end of the run of 10 games? And I don't really know what is there to motivate them at the moment. And that's kind of reflective and has been reflective on the pitch. I think Anfield was a big opportunity for them to kind of put themselves in the shop window, be on the global stage. And I feel like it's going to be back to, there's no disrespect to Wolves, but it's going to be back to sort of quote unquote reality, right? Where we're just going to have another home game where I can't see anything super exciting or out of the ordinary kicking into gear without anything hugely other than not being the worst Premier League team in the world to play for, which really upsets me because they should really want to fight to not be part of the worst Premier League team of all time. And it's baffling that they aren't. But it's difficult. I feel like I'm just a bit of a broken man, Greg. I'm really sorry.
Yeah.
Should have had Oscar.
I mean, how is Ramsdale doing for you guys? Like, because obviously he's not a fan. The Wolves fans don't love him at all. So that's one name. I'm like, yeah, we if we put a few past him, I'll be happy. To be honest with you.
I think he's been a standout. I think it would have been a lot worse without him. And the times that we haven't had him this season have been significantly worse, right? I will put that down to a couple of the results that Russell Martin got were because Ramsdale was out injured at some points, right? And him being out for as long as he was, him being in goal is significantly safer. Like we have not been drubbed 6-7-0 simply because we've had him in goal. If not, it would have been. A lot of our 4-0 games have been like that, which again is a bit of a worry for what we're going to do next season because obviously he's not going to stay. I'd be very, very surprised if somehow we managed to retain him. But he puts
I think
in.
Accountant would be as well. I don't think that's a wage bill we want to keep in the Championship.
If I remember rightly, we broke a lot of our wage structure to bring him in, and that's kind of problematic in itself. But I think we like him as a guy. I think that he's done his best, but there's only so many shots that he can stop when the defenders let it slide past him.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we are rapidly running out of time. So before I bother you both for some score predictions, a quick message from our partners at Zencaster. Here at the Global Sports Podcast Network, we spent a lot of time selecting our delivery platform, and Zencaster came out the clear winner. With 4K video recording from your phone and AI editing that automatically removes all those ums and ahs, it's super easy to start a podcast that sounds great and is delivered efficiently. If you're ready to tell your story, check out the link in the show description and learn more about Zencaster. Okay, Zach, let's come to you first. What are you feeling?
As I said, like ideal and hopeful, and something to actually build on a performance that isn't unrealistic. We're going to win like 4 or 5 goals. Would, in my opinion, be a 0-0 draw. That is what I would like to see because I think that if we can prove that we can we know we can't score at the moment, but if we can prove that we can actually keep a clean sheet with playing centre backs in a centre back position, that would show some semblance of progress. And, Juric is already worried for his job at this point, and he needs to show something that isn't just, death by rigidity to your football tactics, which we've already had one manager disappear due to that this season. So, yeah, it's nothing flashy. It's nothing exciting, but it is something that I think would show at least a semblance of progress towards a better outcome for the season than what we have experienced currently.
Okie doke. Everyone looking forward to a 0-0 draw. Thank you, Zach.
Pragmatic.
Chris, how are you feeling heading into the game? What are you thinking?
I mean, I touched on it a little bit. I'm thinking we really need the 3 points. We want to push clear of the relegation zone. I would like to think that Vitor is going to send them out being, look, right, we're just going to come out all guns blazing. That's what I'd like, is in terms of, we've had some tough games, but now we need to put this to bed and get get out of this situation. This is a chance to really put it all behind us. So I'm going to, and also keep a clean sheet, keep that goal difference growing as well, which has been moving back in the right direction, because that's an extra point in itself at this point in the season. So I'm going to go with, I'm afraid I'm going to go with a 2-0 win to Wolves, because I also want the clean sheet, and Agbadu's been outstanding. And I'm going to say, because I want them to get back to scoring form, Larson to get one, and then maybe off the bench, because I don't think he'll start, Hwang to get one as well. The two people who really need to be scoring if Kunyu's not going to be with us.
I think that sounds fairly reasonable.
Thanks.
Yeah,
Thanks.
No, I respect it. Look, it's not going to come as a surprise to any of our long-term listeners that I have come through the circle of optimism to the point in the week where I'm excited for Saturday. I'm yet to predict a Saints loss this season, and it's not starting today. I think 2-1, because I think we're going to win, but I don't think we'll keep a clean sheet. Maybe I should just record myself playing that and hit play on that every week, because it does feel like the same line I've gone with. But no, I think that Matty Fernandez will pop up with a goal, and Sulemana, why not? Probably Larson as well.
The idea that you think we're always going to score more than a goal, it's just a level of optimism that I can't have, but I'm really glad you do. One of us has to think, even if it's deludedly, that our team will do something good the rest of the season.
I'm not saying that my borderline delusional optimism is hereditary, but my son has gone to every home game this season and still routinely predicts a 5-0 win. So,
Wow.
For the other team, yeah?
Okay, well, that is just about all we've got time for today. Chris, thank you very much for joining us. I would say good luck with the rest of the season. I suppose I could almost say that, but you'd need not to for us to salvage ours, but actually I think that point's long gone. So, but thank you for joining us.
No worries. It's been fun. And hey, in regards to your son, and also because it's similar for some, I know we're just outside the relegation zone, but there's young fans this season I've met through friends and family. It's their first season going to lots of games, and they've witnessed nothing but lots of losses at home because but you raise them this way, and they've come through the doom and gloom, and then they've got all the highs to look forward to, and plus
it's character building.
Character building. Exactly, character building. That's where I was going with that. So
it's going to get expensive when you need to take them to Wembley every other year for the next 10 years, mate.
Yeah.
I would take it. I'm with that. All right. Well, thank you, everyone, for listening. Go and give the Daily Wolves a follow on all the socials and give them a listen. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Hey.
Every club. Every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.